Berger group, which he can tell us in a moment what the group that is. But he used to be with SAIC, and many of you know him because he barbecues at the Knicker Picnic.
It's actually a soft G, Louis Berger. I believe it's French, Berger. I was just talking to a friend outside. This seems to be, company logo seems to be the only updates I ever give at recycling updates. Everybody wants a piece of us. So, I've been working with, as a contractor, CalRecycle with the same team for the last 5 years. So although the company logo changes, the team has remained intact. Edward Boyson, Denise Kennedy, Maya Caldonado, Justine Berg. And so I want to kind of give a little bit of an update on some of CalRecycle's programs, market incentive and market development programs for recycled tire rubber. The 5-year plan with CalRecycle was set to be discussed today at their monthly meeting. It's actually got bumped back to next week, or to April, the April monthly meeting. So we'll talk a little bit about those updates as well. Okay, so our team provided a little bit of an overview study of various incentive programs throughout North America. And the green are active tire incentive programs. The orange is sunsetted. The yellow is Canadian provinces. One thing that I just want to say about this graph is, about this table, is that no one tire incentive program is alike. They're all different. They all charge different fees for new tires, for the advanced disposal fee, if you will. Anywhere from 50 cents per tire to California has $1.75. And the way that they allocate that fund, the Waste Tire Management Fund, is different across the nation. One thing that CalRecycle kind of stands apart from its United States counterparts is that the focus on the funding is for better use of the material, of the recycled ground-up tire rubber. And where some of the other states' incentive programs are actually kind of beneficial for tire-derived fuel. So this is a payment to a hauler or a processor that would send the waste scrap tires to a cement kiln or to a coal-fired power plant that would be used for supplemental fuel in the kiln. And states like Louisiana actually ships a lot of it out of state to out of state kilns, which I think is something notable. Same with Virginia. Now Virginia, they use their incentive program for stockpile cleanup, and it's solely based on end user incentives from cleaning up stockpiles and little dumps. So these are the states in America that have an incentive program set up, and we highlighted Canada because places like Ontario actually have model programs that's got an EPR component, and they also focus on managing this resource for other uses as opposed to maybe incineration. So CalRecycle, the agency formerly known as California Integrated Waste Management Board, they're all about protecting public health and the environment by managing California's waste and tire recycling efforts. Now they have a goal of achieving 90% landfill diversion. These are tires that aren't going to landfill for disposal. So in 2012 there was high coal prices, and that really increased the amount of exports of tires, the demand for tires to leave California and actually going over the Pacific Rim, where they were being burned as supplemental fuel in coal-fired power plants. So we saw a 93% diversion rate spurred on by that market demand in 2012. And then in 2013, it kind of dipped back down a little bit, and we were at an 87% recycling rate. Now, why is this such a big deal? Well, in America, the recycling, the Rubber Manufacturing Association 2013 estimated there are 230 million tires, scrap tires generated from the 48 states. A tire, passenger tire, light truck at an average of 9 inches width, side by side, 40 million would stretch 5,600 miles, which as the crow flies is a distance from San Francisco to New York City and back. That's every year. It's a huge, huge waste stream. And CalRecycle was charged back in the early 2000s to try to manage it. Two threats in particular was they didn't want tire piles, these illegal or unmanaged collection of stockpiled tires. There's pests. If they're not stacked properly or stored properly, they can collect sitting water, and then you got mosquitoes or other breeding grounds for pests. It's a kind of a blight on the environment, and it's just not very aesthetic looking. So CalRecycle has these market development programs where they use part of the allocation of the tire management fund to try to manage this. There's a new tire incentive program that is in the works for feedstock conversion, working with manufacturers in California that will convert a portion of their feedstock, virgin feedstock, over to increase the recycled content using crumb rubber, ground up rubber from tires. There's also funding that's put towards technical assistance and research at the bottom there, but the three that I want to focus on real quick are the ones that kind of eligible to a lot of the audience today. These are grant programs for schools and city, local government, county government, qualifying Indian tribes, and there's even some for profit companies. So, first one I want to talk about is the rubberized pavement grant. This is basically you're mixing up crumb rubber with asphalt, and there's two projects that are eligible with CalRecycle. One's for a rubberized asphalt concrete hot mix, which is basically you're combining the aggregate, traditional aggregate, with recycled rubber from the ground up tires. And the other is a chip seal overlay projects. It's up to $250,000. You've got the rubberized pavement projects, disability access projects, class 1 bikeways, greenways, all eligible projects under this CalRecycle grant of up to $250,000. Now, what you can do with all these programs, these grants, you can combine separate projects to go all the way up to expending the full value of the award. And so cities, counties, and qualifying Indian tribes are eligible for this. Now, for about 12 years, CalRecycle has been doing this grant. I only went back as far as 2008-2009 fiscal year, and you can see these are the grants awarded to jurisdictions, or cities and counties. The funds that were awarded, this is approved funds. Now, there's a little bit of a distinction here because that's how much was approved. These are 2-year grant cycles, so not always, at the end of the project, did the jurisdiction actually meet that the project budget estimated. But I just want to give you an idea of how much was approved for the grant, the total cost, maybe not necessarily how much was expended, and the amount of tires used in these projects. So from 2008 to 2014, there were 182 rubberized asphalt concrete grants. $25 million in funding was approved, and it was about 2.5 million tires that were absorbed into these projects. And here's a case study on the city of Clovis in Fresno County. They had several street projects. They partnered, right? Because there were streets that were owned by the city, streets that were owned by the county. I believe in all they had about 40 resurfacing projects, and these in total diverted 5,500 tires, or absorbed it in their project. They got up to They got $150,000. And one of the nice things, the benefits of rubberized asphalt is it's quieter. It's shock absorbing, so it's less wear and tear on your tires. It also is a little bit safer for driving at night, say on the highways, because it absorbs the raindrops and you have less splash off, so that when you are driving at night, your headlights aren't reflected back into your eyes. The tire-derived aggregate grant. So this is for lightweight fill, retaining wall backfill, vibration mitigation, landfill applications. It's up to $350,000 or $750,000. But these are what the qualifying sub-projects. It's for the purchase of the material. Could be for transportation, so shipping costs, installation, any testing that needs to be done. This is a relatively new grant program that started in 2011, 2012. There's only been 8 grants awarded and $1 million funded, but almost 4 million tires absorbed. And here's the case study at the Kiefer Landfill in Sacramento County, where they were using as roadway transportation and also leachate circulation. And then the tire-derived product grant. This is probably the one that most people might have questions about. I put this about the warranty and express liability that CalRecycle has with all the various products that qualify for this grant. Is up to $150,000, and eligible applicants include schools, and there it is, bam. But here's the last slide I'll do. So 478 grants have been awarded going back to 2008, $52 million funded, approval, over almost 12.5 million tires absorbed through these projects. So the funding's continuing for these grants, and I would encourage anybody that has a project to utilize would look into it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Question, and then I'll take questions. Why don't they make new tires out of these old tires?
That is like making a cake with raw eggs and then trying to make eggs from that cake again. It's the devulcanization. You'd have to devulcanize the tire. So it's kind of the chemical changes that occur when you make a tire are it's difficult to separate again, so that you could use remake a tire, remanufacture a tire, but you can retread a tire, which a lot of large construction vehicles, semi-trucks do have retreaded, and there's a retreaded tire association.
Thank you. Now, I want some questions, but I also want you to say your name, and I want you to stand up and say your question really loud so I have to repeat it. Jesse.
My name is Jesse, and I had a question. I was just recently reading an article about controversy of these tire, using round tire and all these different applications and toxicity concerns, and things like playground equipment where people are saying there's higher cancer rates, and then there's a whole thing about like playing fields, and I know I ran on those things and smelled it for like years, and so, I really am skeptical about the whole thing about grinding up tires and using them in all these places with all the toxics and leachates and stuff in roads and all these, using it for agri. I mean, there's benefits and costs, and I'm just curious, are you guys looking at that, and is that being factored in your analysis of what's an appropriate use for this stuff?
Yeah, so there is, there are health and safety reports and tests that are compiled on CalRecycle's website for doing research on health and safety. It has come out that the studies that CalRecycle has at least funded for OEA, Office of Environmental Health Hazards Assessment, was limited in scope. So in this next 5-year plan that they're discussing, there is a mention in there that they've already started negotiating an interagency agreement to build on this 2010 study, health and safety study report, and really specifically look at synthetic turf infill and the exposure to for children for the playgrounds. So there are a few distinctions I think are notable to make between the material types that is getting a lot of media attention, between the synthetic turf infill, which is basically fake dirt at the athletic fields, which is loose and just getting it all over the place. Sorry. Oh God. But basically, you know, the difference between this and more of a molded product or mulch that would have wouldn't be so easily or readily accessible through the three exposure pathways: ingestion, inhalation, and absorption. But I'd be happy to talk more shop about that in the lobby. But yeah, so there are tests. I know there are tests, and there is commissioning for further health and safety tests for the synthetic turf infill and playground, loose fill playground. Sure.
Thank you, Jesse.
Is there a tire incentive program that includes tires that have rims that are not on vehicles? My second question is, CalRecycle's 90% diversion goal include ADC?
Okay. So no, yes, the ADC that was counted in the past was part of the diversion goal. Now that might be changing here with the way that they calculate ADC, and like whether green waste is going to be allowed to be counted as ADC, whether it's going to go for the recycling to the diversion goal. And actually, in the 5-year plan for the waste tire management, they are CalRecycle is looking to maybe change the way that they kind of calculate and look at it, at the the philosophy between whether we're going to calculate what the diversion rate is or what the recycling rate is. So to answer your question, yeah, ADC in the past, has been counted as the diversion goal, and then the rims. What was that? Are there programs for rims?
So, many tires with rims aren't collected because they have a rim.
Huh. That's news to me. Okay.
But the ones in jurisdictions, they're not collected. So what should the public do with tires that have rims on them?
So this is kind of like a illegally dumped tire, or is this from like a municipal fleet?
Any of the above.
Huh.
We get calls on a regular basis to folks who somehow come across a tire with a rim on it, not accepted in municipal programs, and not accepted at other facilities. We don't know what to do with them, right?
Yeah.
Talk on the break.
Yeah.
But also, for those of you who don't know, ADC stands for Alternative Data Cover, and it's used at landfills and in it's counted as recycling. So it's just not. Anybody else?
Right here.
All right, go for it.
Hi,
Stand up.
Natalie County, I work with preschools, so the toxicity levels are something that are particularly of concern to my work and the preschool centers that I'm working with. And the studies are there, is what you're saying, but it doesn't really seem like there's numbers there for children ages 3 to 5, which are preschoolers. So the schools that I'm working with are concerned. They have these tire playgrounds. And so do you take this material back if they decide that the evidence isn't there and they don't feel comfortable having it around their curriculum? So
I think this CalRecycle wouldn't take that back because most of these grants are a reimbursement grant. So the grantee or the school is working with the California manufacturer vendor of these products, and it's really up to these companies, these businesses, to be selling products that are not harmful, that are safe, and aren't going to harm our children. So it really comes between the negotiation between the purchaser, the buyer, and the seller. And so CalRecycle kind of washes their hands clean of these reimbursement grants because they assume no liability or any one company or one product over the other. The only stipulation is whether or not the seller is using California waste tires, scrap tires in their products. So the answer to your other question is, I think it has come out that it's pretty widely accepted that the health and safety studies that have been conducted nationwide on not only playground mulch but also synthetic turf infill for 20 years has been limited in scope. And so I believe that that's what CalRecycle is looking to address, is to broaden the scope and be a little bit more specific. Yes, chronic exposure to for children.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.